Let's get right to what you want to see. That is five-star quarterback Drew Allar throwing passes at Penn State's first practice of the spring 2022. I'm Thomas Frank Carr for Blue White Illustrated. This is our view of Penn State's open practice on Monday. And the first thing I noticed, and I think you'll notice here too, is that Drew Allar is just big. 6'5", 229 pounds. The looks the part test, he passed that with flying colors. Much bigger than most of the other quarterbacks, except for senior quarterback Sean Clifford, who you see here. Not a huge difference between the two of them size-wise. So, and that's with Allar needing to, as we heard from Chuck Losey, the strength and conditioning coach, get a little bit bigger, change his body over, still kind of learning and growing. So even more room, even more strength to add on that frame for Drew Allar. You can see some of the other quarterbacks here. We'll get to that in just a second. But Allar was the star for most people on day one of Penn State's open practice. And you'll see here, there are two number 9s. That is Christian Veilleux and Beau Pribula, both wearing number 9. Pribula is the one closest to us. And here is Veilleux, a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, as you'd expect from a guy who's been in the program for a full season now. I also like to take a look at what the coaches are doing during practice and see how they're instructing, what they're talking about. You can see them instructing the handoff drill, just basic, every single thing. And one guy I think Penn State fans are curious to know more about is John Scott Jr. And you can see the attention to detail and the way he's teaching just the very first step coming off the line of scrimmage to the Penn State defensive line, getting into some of the detail, into some of the work here in just a bag drill. And the next one coming up here, I think Penn State fans are going to be excited to see Adisa Isaac practicing, going through drills in the spring. He has been one of the biggest mysteries coming into spring for Penn State football. Fatorma Mulba, a guy who gained almost 10 pounds this offseason, looks the part. Penn State trying to find somebody to fill in that defensive tackle position. Special teams was taking a focal point early on in practice. You can see Kalen King and this is Joey Porter Jr. going through some special teams drills, working on getting off the line of scrimmage. So just kind of a looks like to start practice for a lot of these guys. How do they look coming out of winter conditioning? Johnny Dixon going to be another big part of Penn State football next season. And here's your first look at Caden Saunders, the 4-star receiver from Ohio, and Mitchell Tinsley, the transfer. And here's another Clifford, Liam Clifford, going through some drills. Penn State receivers going through drills here. And, of course, your annual look at how big that Kevon Lee is for the Nittany Lions. Another guy, speaking of big, Penn State struggled with the offensive line and being able to run block last season. Juice Scruggs gained a ton of weight this offseason. You could see a huge difference. He's up to 317 pounds on the roster, so gaining about 12 pounds this offseason as he moves to center. You can see them snapping as well. Another guy who I took a little bit of a look at, J.B. Nelson, coming from Lackawanna Community College. James Franklin called him the backup left guard, getting some instruction from Phil Troutwine, talking through some of the technique, and that was a big part of Nelson's profile. Very talented, lots of tools, but needs to work on some of those positional skills. Here he is getting his first taste of that at Penn State football in spring practice, focusing on pad level, drive, the run game, which was, of course, a huge topic of conversation for the Nittany Lions during James Franklin's press conference. So that's our look at the Penn State team, offense, defense, and special teams. Make sure you subscribe, Blue White Illustrated on YouTube, and, of course, if you want to listen to the audio, wherever you get your podcasts.